Welcome back, everybody. We're at Bluewater Chairs in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, hosted by Joe Schwab from Bluewater Chairs.
Thank you very much for coming.
Thanks for having us, Joe. And you all know my co-host, Heather Lee O'Keefe. So Heather, we're going to do this one just a little bit differently. We're going to divide and conquer, if that's okay with you.
Absolutely.
All righty, so here's what we're going to do. Joe and I are going to walk through the production side. We're going to learn how the products are made. You're going to go get familiarized with the finishing side, and when Joe's done over here with me, we're going to meet you over there. How's that?
Sounds good. I'll
We'll
catch
see
you guys
in
in a little bit.
Okay, thanks. All right, Joe.
Yes.
So where we start with teak products is a teak tree, right?
Exactly.
We don't have any teak trees going in Fort Lauderdale, so where does it start for you guys?
Well, for us, we're actually purchasing the teak through different suppliers here in the United States, and they're sourcing it from overseas, of course. That's where it all comes from, Paul. A few of the things the reason we use a couple different suppliers is because different shipments come in, different qualities and things like that, and we're looking for a specific furniture quality, just like somebody doing a teak deck or teak covering boards, they're looking for different grain as well. So that's where it is, and yep, it all comes in here, and as you can see, for different areas of the chair, table, whatever it is, we will be using different thicknesses of wood. As you know, everything with wood is measured by quarters, so you don't have 1.5 inches, you have 6/4.
Right.
Just like you have 4/4, 5/4, 6/4, on up to, heck, 12/4. Yeah, it's.
Is it becoming more difficult to source good, straight grain, thick, wide planks of teak, Joe?
Well, that's exactly it. All of those terms together, Paul, make it a challenge. Good, thick, straight grain, all of those different things, they all contribute to the scarcity of the wood. You can get one piece that might be good coloring but poor graining or something like that. So it's very important that you get all of those qualities that you just said.
And that typically comes from old growth teak as opposed to plantation teak.
Correct.
Which we see in a lot of boats these days. It's that teak that has a little bit greener hue to it, and it's mostly more veneers than it is thick pieces.
Yes, they're all veneers that are usually what's been known as remanufactured, things like that. Whereas, yes, we're using the old growth trees.
Okay. Well, let's take a look at some of the products that we make, starting at the beginning, and we'll work our way through to the end.
Absolutely, yeah. What we've got here is, this is a shaped up piece, so we've taken our raw planks and we've actually milled them down a little bit. We've taken some templates and some shapes, and we've actually taken all of those, cut them, and glued them into a general shape of what we call our battle station. Okay. This will be our molded seat that we're going to actually put on a 5-axis machine and machine out the seating area of it.
So you use a router to do that after you've put the basic shape together.
Correct.
Here.
Correct.
Okay.
We're putting the basic shape together here, and then it's all going to turn into a finished molded seat when we're done.
And here it speaks to some of the difficulty of sourcing materials to build a product like this. Obviously, you couldn't find a piece of teak this thick, but in order to do a build-up with as few pieces as possible, you're using 6/4 teak here.
Of course. As you see there, we've got 7 pieces of 6/4 put together for just that seat part of it. So yes, that does it does take up quite a bit of teak to do that. The other interesting thing that you want to do, Paul, is you want to make sure that when you're laminating together that you're using different graining. What can happen, you see it with any plank, where if it's just made out of one solid plank, it'll warp or take shape. So what happens is, by using 2 pieces of wood together, they'll work against each other to control each other, so you don't get a warp or shape into it.
Kind of the premise of plywood on an expanded view.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right. So this is the rough shape for what we call a battle station. We'll see a little further on what a battle station starts to take shape as. You've got another piece over here that exemplifies some of the other wonderful things that you guys build.
Exactly. This, Paul, is one of our cockpit tables.
Okay.
That's a 30 by 48 that we're manufacturing there. Earlier today, that was the center section of it was a solid piece of 6/4 there. What we did was we milled it down, and then we did what's called a resaw, where we literally ripped the board lengthwise and filleted it, as you say, like a butterfly fillet.
Right.
What we call, we open it up and do a book match, so that here right down the middle, all of our graining and texture is all the same. The lines are all very consistent with it. What's going to happen there, that center section is actually going to be a 1/4 inch thick hardwood. The nice thing about using quarter inch as opposed to other types of manufacturing, that will allow us to get in there. It'll stabilize the piece of wood, and as temperature changes and environment changes, that center section of wood will change along with the hardwood on the exterior, what we call the rail.
So your rail, your banded rail, is a full thickness, and then instead of using a thin veneer inside, which would be a less expensive way, using less material, you use a thicker piece inside because it'll expand and contract in the environment in a more similar fashion, so it doesn't want to separate and destroy your finish.
You are correct there.
Okay.
That's exactly why we do that. Along with that, what we will also do by using the quarter inch piece in the middle is in a refinish, or if a piece were to get damaged,
Somebody were to ding it up.
you can get in there and make a repair on it. A lot of times the veneer gives a nice finish. However, what can happen is you can't get in to make a repair. Usually the only way to repair a veneer is to apply new veneer.
And on the back side here, I see we've got black Formica on the back side. Is that just so we don't have a raw finish, or is that actually a protection as well?
It's twofold, and like you said, one, it definitely cleans up the bottom edge of it, makes it much more presentable. Although very few people will ever see the underside of it.
Or if they're at that position on the deck, they're not going to remember anything the next morning anyway. Okay.
Exactly. But yes, what it does is it seals the back edge as well,
Okay.
like you were saying there.
All right. Very interesting.
So yeah, by tomorrow that'll be actually over in our finish shop. They'll edge it, they'll nose it and edge it tonight, and then it'll be ready tomorrow.
So speaking of tables, here's a really interesting piece. You guys have a product line that you're very well known for. You do a lot of things with great consistency and great repetition. The tables, the chairs are beautiful products, but that's also instilled a request from a lot of people
Yes.
to you to provide other products, right?
Yes, yes.
So what are we looking at here?
This table, we talk about all of these exotic species. Here's a Wenge table,
Okay.
species of wood.
Right.
And what happens here, this table, a customer that we've had for a bit has requested us to build a cocktail table for them.
Okay.
And in this case, as you see, we were putting a piece, this will end up being a high polished piece of inlaid stainless. There's LED lights going into it. You can see all the different shapes and design that's put into just this single piece, not only with the graining, but all of your angles. Each one of these pieces of wood needed somewhere between 9 to 12 different cuts to fit that piece into this jigsaw puzzle.
That's what's fascinating to me. I'm a hobbyist carpenter, Joe. I mean, we've known each other a long time. You've seen some of the things that I've built.
Oh, yeah.
And to see the complexity and the level of precision here is really, really fascinating. I don't know how much of the audience really appreciates the level of complexity and detail and thought that has to go into this before you make the first cut. You know, it's the old measure 17 times and cut once.
Our head carpenter will only work on this piece on Saturdays and Sundays when nobody else is in the shop.
Okay.
Because
no distractions.
There's no distractions, and when the saw gets set at the certain angle, nobody comes in and touches it.
Makes a huge difference. That's going to be a beautiful piece when it's done, and obviously that's upside down. So we're going to see a few pieces later on that will actually go on the sides before it becomes a finished product ready to go over to the finishing shop.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So what do we got here?
Oh, well, this is, we saw our early version of our battle station over there, Paul.
Well, this does look familiar. So we've got our plywood-esque laminates here of the 6/4 teak.
Yes, we
Okay.
have all of those put together. We have the rocket launcher put on top. As you can see, this has been machined on our 5-axis machine,
Okay.
where it's actually taken its shape. And then from there, what happens, it gets its finish put on it, and then it comes back over here to get the final bait tackle drawer put on it, bait tray, tackle drawer, all of that's put on, and then the hardware gets installed.
And we'll see the finishing process with Heather in a few minutes. Now, I got one question for you. Would I be violating a proprietary secret if I asked you, how do we fasten that rocket launcher to this battle station without any visible fasteners?
Well,
Is that classified?
That is something. It's taken a few attempts early on. This was about 10 years ago, where we were actually going through some different experiments with it, figured out what was going to work with different fasteners, like you said, and it's got to be blind fasteners.
Right.
Nobody wants to see a bunch of hardware. However,
also
we
opportunity
have
for
it
corrosion.
where we've designed it where we're able to do it, where it's a clean install and nobody can see any of the hardware that we're using.
What a spectacular end result to what comes in the door as a raw piece of wood. That's truly amazing. But we're going to be amazed even more when we see some of the other products in their finished state. So let's take a walk through here, because you've got a couple of other pieces in various states of production. This one right here.
Yes, this is a rocket launcher, like I said earlier. Yep, this would be what we call our straight 8 rocket launcher.
Okay.
It's very common in a boat from
4, 6, 8 rod holders.
And then 2 cup holders.
And a place for hooks, leader, sinkers.
Yep.
With drain holes.
We'll put a drawer on the back side of this, the tackle drawer, of course. And this rocket launcher like this is most typical in a boat 45 up to 55, 60 feet. So this kind of serves all purposes for that whole size range there.
Okay. All stand-up tackle. Mm-hmm. Excellent. So what
we're seeing these more and more in many of the outboard boats. Many of these larger outboard boats are doing a lot of our straight 8s, and we make a similar version called our curved 8 that brings the edges of it in by about 7 inches. So instead of 52, it's 45 inches, holding 8 rods.
Today's outboard boats have bigger cockpits than the boats I fished the Bahamas Championship on in the 80s. So things have changed quite a lot. So interestingly over here, we're back to some raw material, but what I see here looks a whole lot like a footrest, if I'm not mistaken.
You are correct there. Yeah, this is actually our shaped footrest that we do in our fighting chairs. And what we've done here is we've taken this piece of wood and we've actually laminated 2 pieces together, like I talked about earlier, where you're working the grain against the grain.
Okay.
That's some of what we've done here. And then we machine it again on a 5-axis to get all of that shape and style to it. From there, we'll then build it out into our finished footrest. I'll be able to show you one of those in our showroom in a little bit.
Well, that's really important in a footrest too, because a lot of people don't realize when you're fishing 130-pound class tackle and you've got a large fish on a bent butt rod, your rear end is off of the fighting chair seat in a bucket harness, and all the weight is right there on that footrest. So that lamination makes a difference.
Not a lot of people realize, but yeah, the seat has nothing to do with a fighting chair when it's being used.
I've stood up on a few footrests over the years. So this looks a lot like an armrest to a helm chair, but tell me about the interior of that. That seems a little different.
What we do, this particular piece, it's actually I hate to use the word, it sounds superficial, but it's a facade.
Okay.
What we do on our centerline helm chair, it's got the flip-up armrests on it, similar to an airplane seat. And what we do, we wanted to have the beautiful, rich wood finish on it. However, we still, because of the speeds and the ruggedness that these outboards are, the amount of stress that people are putting on these at 70, 80 miles an hour now, we need to make sure that they have something firm to hold on to.
Okay.
So what we actually do is we will fabricate the internal structure is actually a piece of stainless steel.
Okay.
So we build all of your structures out of the stainless steel. This piece will get fit in, it gets sandwiched on.
Okay.
So yes, that is
and then it's epoxied and clamped together?
Exactly.
And then it gets shaped a little bit more and it goes to upholstery?
Exactly.
I like it. Mm-hmm. I like it. Mm-hmm. So it's strong and it's beautiful.
Yes, those are 2 of the key things. These are just some more of the internal mechanisms external parts that need to be shaped to cover up some of that internal hardware there.
Okay. I mentioned a few minutes ago that we were making some more pieces over here for the base for that cocktail table, that Wenge table that was so beautiful. So Wenge being a difficult wood to obtain, probably extremely expensive, the smart play is to butt join?
Yes, that's what and the other reason we're doing that is we want to make sure that we continue with our graining, everything stays the same, so we're actually matching the pieces of wood and graining together as we're butt joining them as well.
Okay.
So those are, like I said earlier, our head carpenter only does this on weekends where he can concentrate on each and every piece.
Well, it also gives you amazing consistency in color and grain, and that's what provides a piece of art when you're done, not just a piece of furniture.
Absolutely.
And these are the sides of the base for that table. Yes,
exactly.
That we saw.
That's what we're looking at here. Some of those sides, and the tough thing about Wenge is splinters.
Yes.
This is a tough wood to work with. Yeah. As far as splinters in your hands and all that, I don't even like touching it.
Well, you know what's interesting, and most people that haven't worked a lot with wood don't understand the different characteristics of different woods. They'll know oak is really hard and pine is really soft. What they don't realize is that mahogany is very dusty. Teak is very oily. Teak, when you're working with it, you've got to change saw blades all the time and sharpen them. You've got a very oily product. So there are different characteristics to different woods that really give them different flavors, also give them better applications in different environments, like we're using them in the most hostile environment in the world, the saltwater world.
And that's why teak is so popular on the exterior, because of the oils in there. It actually has its own preservatives with the teak oil in the wood itself.
It's durable and it's less likely to crack. So you freehand every cut that you guys make, right?
We used to.
Okay.
We used to.
All right.
Most everything is now cut on CNC routers or 5-axis. So we'll do a lot of things that way. However, as you can see, we still have many of our fixtures all around the shop.
Okay.
So we, a lot of times we'll get a customer that maybe wants a piece, but because of the shape and size of their cockpit or their area, we need to do a custom size. So we'll pull down some of our fixtures and maybe modify that. Or of course you get the one that, hey, I need this all of a sudden, and we can pull down and still hand cut a piece if we need to.
So with things that you produce pretty consistently, you'll subcontract with your materials, you'll do the rough shapes, and then you'll have an outsourced CNC machine shape them for you, and then bring them back in here for your final finishes and assemblies and things of that nature.
Correct.
But when you saw that certain shapes worked better over the years, you built fixtures that gave you the ability to replicate something over and over and over again without having to remeasure it.
Exactly.
Amazing. Okay. All right. What a beautiful shop, Joe. You guys have got, it's amazing. And when I say beautiful, maybe to the casual observer, you wouldn't say, oh yeah, that's a place that I want to take a date on a Friday night. But the reality of it is,
why do you say that?
Exactly. What you're able to produce here is what I think is beautiful. And I'm one that's always enjoyed working with my hands. I love getting behind the curtain and figuring out how things are made. So it's fascinating to me. I'll admit freely, this isn't my first visit to Bluewater. I started doing business with Tommy, the founder of the company. Oh gosh, well, Tommy and I got to know each other when he was in high school. We won't go any further than that. But he's done a great job in building a magnificent company. You're doing a phenomenal job in helping the public understand the quality of the products and helping them through the process of owning them. We've learned a bit about the production. Let's break and head over to Heather. I think she's going to teach you a little bit about finishing, if I'm not mistaken.
I look forward to that.
All right, we're going to head over to the finish shop. Sounds like a plan?
I'm John Krupe, retired boat captain with over 30 years experience. I know firsthand that keeping your vessel equipment and gear safe, secure, and organized is essential. That is why I'm excited to share with you an incredible opportunity at the Oakland Warehouse District, right here in Oakland Park, Florida. Imagine having your own dedicated space, whether you need secure storage for your boat, your gear, a distribution center for your marine supplies, or a reliable base for your maritime business. With over 10 single bays, 4 double bays measuring 416 to 832 square feet respectively. They feature private ADA bathrooms, 10.5-foot ceilings, dedicated parking, brand new AC, impact doors, along with new roofs and completely renovated warehouse units, giving you the flexibility and security you need. Secure your unit today by calling my partner Chip Falkinger at 561-702-0691.
So this is the finish side. So basically you've got the shop divided into 2 specific areas. One where we're bringing the raw materials in, we're producing the product as you and I were talking about earlier, and then we bring everything over to this side where we finish it.
Exactly, yes.
Okay.
What we're doing over here, we keep the carpentry over there and the finish over here, like you had said.
Well, I think
so.
I see Heather and Chris. Looks like Heather's learning a good bit about our build-up coats with epoxy. Heather, you starting to get a feel for what's going on over here?
Yes, I'm learning so much. This is a fascinating process.
It really is incredible. Joe's going to show you through a little bit more of it. I'm going to let these guys get back to work. I'm going to hand you off to Joe. Joe's going to show you through the rest of the finishing process, and I'll see you all back in the showroom where we'll talk about some of the different products.
Sounds good.
Thanks, Joe. I'm leaving
Thank you, Paul.
in Heather's capable hands.
Okay.
Thank
you, Chris. So, yeah, what we're doing here is we're hand applying our initial layers of epoxy on here. One of the key things that Brian is doing is his application is all done by hand. A lot of other places, what they'll do is they'll actually spray finishes on, which is a good way of doing it. However, it does not work the material into the grain. So part of using the hand brush is you're actually working the material into the grain. So that's one of his steps there. Once he gets done going with the grain, he'll brush against the grain. Again, you're trying to work it into all the nooks and crannies. Once that's done, he'll go back a third time and he'll run it with the grain for the third time. And that's going to then secure that first coat in there. Once that's done, we'll sand and rewind and repeat, meaning we'll go with the second layer, all done by hand, same thing, three different angles on it, with the grain, against the grain, with the grain. Let that cure. Let's do it a third time. And if that's not good enough, let's do it a fourth time.
Fourth time's the charm here, right?
That's exactly it. 4 times.
That's what I learned so far. That's incredible. So I guess the benefit to hand painting it is that it gets in those grooves. And I'm sure that makes it stronger too, right?
Exactly, yes. What you're doing is you're working the finish into all the nooks and crannies and grooves, things like that. So it's very beneficial to do it that way. And one layer at a time, what that's going to allow us to do is really inspect the process as we're going through it, inspect the part, and make sure that it's all getting in the right spots. Another way of doing a lot of these parts is what's called high build, which is a good way of doing it. We put the same application on all of our furniture, whether it's, I use the word furniture, whether it's a cocktail table going inside a salon or a fighting chair out to do battle with 1,000-pound marlin, it's all getting the same exact finish, which is that exterior, high gloss, tough as nails finish on the exterior of it.
That's incredible. So we're seeing the beginning process here. How about you walk me through the rest of it?
Oh yes, yep. So as I said, it's a lot of rewind and repeat. It seems this piece, our battle station, seems to be turning up over and over again. Actually earlier, Paul and I were discussing the battle station, how it came through from raw teak to become a shape, and from the shape here we're actually applying our finish onto it.
So
that's what's going there. This is in about, it looks to be its third stage of epoxy on this. Again, hand sanding in between each and every layer of it, and as they're sanding, they're inspecting for blemishes or issues, making sure that the finish is flowing out properly and smoothly, because if we're no good in the beginning, it's definitely going to be no good at the end. So we have to start and continue with the correct product the whole way through.
Absolutely. Because if you get any little piece of dust, it needs to be completely perfect, or else that'll come through each layer, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So what they're doing here, as you can see, there are some spots in this. We're still a few steps away from our finished coats on it. But what will happen here is we will go through some of our final coats, sand in between each one of them, and then go for that final clear coat on it. By doing this slow process, what we're doing is building layer upon layer upon layer. So what it's going to, at the end of it, it's going to give us a deep, rich finish to the material. We were talking earlier about where you could reach in to touch the piece of wood as if it's got a bit of
3D.
Water on top. Yes.
Yeah.
So this particular one, again, is one of our customers had requested us to do a custom table for their yacht, and as you can see, we put a mother of pearl inlay into it. Those are all small sections of mother of pearl that we had to hand lay each piece into that particular section of the table. So that's what we've done there. Again, like our other tables Paul and I were talking about earlier, that's a solid centerpiece with a 1/4 inch teak, and then our solid rail on the exterior of it as well.
Wow.
So that's what we're doing there.
The craftsmanship is absolutely exquisite.
Thank you. Yes, the wonderful thing, the dedication of our employees, the work they do is really second to none. And what I enjoy about being here is that our employees really take vital part in it. Saturday, I was in here doing some paperwork. One of our employees walked in. I asked, "Are you here to work or what's going on?" He said, "No, I did some parts yesterday and I just wanted to see how they turn out."
Wow.
So that's the dedication. I say that we have, that really what we're doing is wood and finish that anybody can do, but it's the employees that set us apart from many other people. many other companies in this industry.
Absolutely, that's
So-
incredible. And I mean, it speaks for itself. The work shows this beautiful, beautiful product.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
once it gets the 4 layers, about how long does it take between each layer?
Well, usually, and it depending on weather and environment and things like that. So really, it's usually a day to a day and a half in between each layer. We got to sand it. So usually we calculate about 48 hours.
Okay.
So you're looking at right there at 4 layers. That's 8 days right there. So from start to finish, this whole process over here can be somewhere 3.5 to 4.5 weeks.
Oh, wow. Wow, very, very detailed process, but I guess it's true. You get what you pay for. Is that right?
That's exactly it. And many customers come in and say, "Hey, but I need my tables in a week." And I said, "Well, we can't rush this. That's one of the things you don't want to do is rush, because when you rush, that's where you have problems."
Absolutely. I've heard of something. If you can choose 3, quality, speed, and cost, pick 2. You can't get all 3.
What a good point. What a good point. Yep. Now behind us here, these are some tables that many customers that take delivery of their boats, especially a lot of the European boats. What happens is over there, the builders are challenged because of more rigid environmental laws and regulations over there, and I guess perhaps some of the different materials available, they're unable to get the high quality, high gloss finish that we're able to put on here in the States. So what a lot of customers will do is take delivery of their yachts with the tables raw, send them to us, and we'll actually go ahead and put the high gloss finish on them here.
Oh, wow.
And that's one of the things that is taking place here.
That's very interesting.
Yeah. So we'll do a little bit of each.
Great.
And here are some other parts that are getting ready to, actually these have been in the spray booth once, and they're getting ready to go back in.
Okay.
So-
So these are almost done?
Almost, yeah.
Almost,
Yeah. Don't
okay.
rush this though. Don't
Not
rush
yet.
this part.
Okay.
This is you rush it at the end, just like baking, right?
Right.
Now, all of our spray booth here is a sealed spray booth. It's pressurized, where to keep all the dust out. I've got a team in there spraying right now, so I don't want to go disturbing anything in there. But that's
Sure.
where that last automotive clear coat
The last
is
step.
put on it, and that's that last finish. These finishes all have UV inhibitors in them to keep the wood looking great over time, and that's all very important in the finish. That's one of the things that this finish is doing, is it's protecting the wood underneath from UV and weather. So that's part of what these finishes are doing.
Sure. I think we were talking earlier a little bit about the weather here in South Florida. We can wake up and have it be very cold,
Yes.
and then in the afternoon it's 100 degrees.
Exactly. Yeah. That can put a lot of stress. I know that's a strange word when it comes to a piece of wood, but that can put a lot of stress on the piece of wood, because yes, it could be 45 degrees at nighttime, and then by 11 o'clock in the morning the sun comes up and beats down on it, and it could be 95 degrees, and that surface could be well over 100 because of the UV. The UV is the thing that breaks everything down. So by putting these finishes on, what we're doing is we're sealing that from the UV rays, breaking down the teak on the underneath of it, any of the other woods. That's
Wow.
where you see a teak deck. If you don't maintain it and take care of it, it turns gray, because the UV will get in there and bleach it and eat away at it.
Okay, so it not only looks beautiful, but it protects it too.
Exactly.
I love it. Well, I'd love to see a finished product. How about we head to the showroom and meet Paul?
That sounds great.
All right, let's
Head
go.
this way.
I'll follow you.
Great.
We're first-time boaters, and we're using yachter.com.
All we did was visit yachter.com, where there are loads of search features to help us find the right boat.
All right, kids, let's get those covers off the boat. It was really important for me to find the right boat for my family this summer.
My buddies and I needed to get out on the water.
Yachter connects you directly with a broker who can answer all your questions.
And thanks to real-time alerts, I never missed a listing.
As soon as this boat came on the market, I said, honey, that's our boat.
I like big boats and I cannot lie. Thank you, Yachter.
Go to yachter.com and find your dream boat today.
Come on, Charlie. Let's go boating.
So Heather, these are some of our parts and pieces waiting for our customers to come in and pick them up. Also, a few of these are some used equipment. You know, every now and then somebody will purchase a piece and say, hey, I have a rocket launcher that I don't need now that I have a chair, and they'll end up saying, what are you going to do about it? And we'll be able to trade some of that.
That's great. Paul, I learned so much out there. I'm so excited to see the finished product now that I saw the whole process.
It is an amazing process, isn't it?
It is.
So I'm perched in a place that feels kind of like home to me. Spent a few hours in one of these over the years. Joe, the primary focus of where Bluewater Chairs started was fighting chairs. And while we've talked about a lot of different products that Bluewater has progressed into, we haven't gone to the meat and potatoes of Bluewater Chairs, and that's the fighting chair. I'm going to step out of the way, and I'm going to let you explain to the crowd exactly what we're looking at here.
Absolutely. This chair here that you're sitting in, Paul, this is our Evolution Series chair. This, that word sums it up. It's our evolution, 33 years of building chairs.
Okay.
And there was trial and error back in the 80s and early 90s.
There sure
was.
And
here we are now in 2021. And one of the things with this particular chair, it's got no what we call blind fasteners. You don't see any of the screw heads, any of the fasteners throughout the entire chair. It's a very clean chair, very shapely, very fitted. This chair would be one that would go in one of the newer boats of today.
There was a manufacturer that I was familiar with, and we used to have a big piece of threaded rod and a couple of acorn nuts holding on the side arms.
Yep. Oh, exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So they've come a long way to custom upholsteries that match different cushions on the boat. We used to have to do this ourselves in the cockpit. If we were bored or we were on a trip traveling to St. Thomas, we'd do a little macrame on the arms to protect the rod butts.
There you go. Well, some of the things that we saw earlier is we've got our shaped footboard here that we talked about.
Yep. And the
So
strength of
that's
the
what we have
laminates.
going in there. Some of the other things are corner brackets on this Evolution chair. We've eliminated those and gone with a through fitting on our rocket launcher bracket, where it used to be a ladder back chair with a ladder back on it. Now we've gone over to the rocket launcher.
The back came out, the chair went on.
Yep.
The rocket launcher went on, and you had a dual purpose setup.
Exactly.
So fighting chairs, amazing pieces of gear. We've got big rocket launchers these days. I mean, back in the day, we used to have a 4-rod holder rocket launcher. This one's 5 right here in the center, but we'd have 4 rod holders and a small piece like this. Now we've got guys that are fishing multiple rods. They're fishing 10 rods in the spread, or they want to have 5 here in the rocket launcher and a couple over in the covering boards. So you got access to everything.
I guess the crew's gotten a lot smarter. We could only handle 4 rods at the time.
Yeah, I couldn't even count that high back in those days. Here's a finished battle station.
Exactly. This particular battle station is finished up, actually getting ready to go to a customer. As you can see, we're able to put their name in it.
Okay.
This one's actually getting a table that literally clips to the top of it so that they can fight fish during the day, and then in the evening, load it up with cocktails.
Wine and cheese, and go for a ride up and down the ditch.
Exactly.
Without having to remove a chair or a battle station or a rocket launcher, store it someplace, pull the table out, put it in place, it pops right on top.
Correct.
That's awesome.
Correct.
That's awesome. And I think helm chairs have come a long way, Joe, as well. There was a time that this was the fanciest helm chair in the business, and in fact, I've got a helm chair like that on an office base in my home office, and it's one of my favorite places to sit.
Yeah.
I also know of a company that we won't let any names out, but there's a conference room here in town that there are 22 of those chairs around a hell of a conference table.
Yep. That's they have a nice operation going on there.
They do. So it's not limited to just using the boat. Use your imagination and think of other places that you could put them as well.
We just put 4 up on Hillsborough Mile as bar stools.
There you go.
So
there you go.
What better place to have your memories and create new memories?
Well, you know what? They're super comfortable too. But with the evolution of the boats, we were talking a little while ago about the cockpits on these outboards are bigger than the cockpits on the battle wagons that we used to fish offshore on. Tell me about these helm chairs here, Joe.
Yes, these are what we call our centerline helm chair. And some of the things that we've done here for the new these outboards now that are getting more and more developed compared to when we used to run a 17 Mako around and think that was the latest and greatest.
We have a Rotocast bucket chair.
We're dating ourselves. One of the things, this particular chair here, this is our bolstered, what we call our centerline chair. This one we have designed to sit on a pedestal. This one here is designed to sit on the molded base. A few of the things that we've done here, as you can see, we've got the flip-up bolster seating on it. So it makes comfortable for sitting, and then if you want to stand up and run, it gives you wonderful back support. Also, earlier we talked about those arms out there. This is the finished arm here, and as we talked about, it still has all the stainless steel internal mechanisms in it, where it's all stainless steel and Delrin. The exterior of it is our finished teak wood that we had seen earlier, with our high gloss finish put on it, and then our upholstery gets set right on top of it. So by the time you're said and done, it's a completely finished chair. These are done in, that's done in the Noose umbrella material. This is done in ultra leather. One of the other interesting things we do, Paul, is our backrests are actually a magnetic backrest.
Where are my snaps?
That's exactly it. There's no hardware. You just get it close and let it go.
How cool is that? Now, that's magic. How do you do that?
Well, it takes a lot of thought. We actually have to build the magnets into the part.
So you embed them in the wood.
Correct.
Very
And
cool.
you know, and one of the things we have to take in mind is what we used to call the battle wagon doing 22 knots out to the fishing ground. These are going on a boat that could be doing 70 or 80 miles an hour.
It's truly amazing.
So we need to make sure that those backrests are going to stay on.
Because a snapped-on backrest would be something you'd be looking for on the way home.
Hopefully it would float.
Hopefully it would. Hopefully it would. Joe, it's amazing the progress, the evolution, if you will, that we've made in chairs, in tables, in helm chairs. But basically what's been fascinating to me is how we're able to take a piece of raw teak wood and produce products of this elegance and this technical superiority. I mean, to look at them, it looks like an old traditional high gloss product, but when you start to peel back the layers, there's a lot of technology in these.
Absolutely, yeah. There's between the water jetted machine parts inside and mechanisms, yes.
We really appreciate you taking the time with us here. It's been a fascinating tour. Thanks again so much. We're going to go to a break and we'll be back in a little bit.
Thank you.